The G20's main purpose is to coordinate policies on global economic issues, aiming for stability, growth, poverty reduction, and addressing climate change. It tackled the 2008 financial crisis with coordinated responses. Recent presidencies have emphasized inclusivity in the post-COVID world.
We've always maintained that the G20 language must be growth-oriented, must be citizen-centric, must be based on leaving no one behind, but should also be forward-looking in terms of technology, must be forward-looking in terms of the advancement that is taking place in terms of artificial intelligence, generative AI.
India joined the G20 Troika in 2022, focusing on health, energy, and digital transformation. In 2023, with the theme One Earth, One Family, One Future, India continued to advocate for emerging economies, launched the Voice of Global South Summit, and elevated the African Union to permanent member status. Prime Minister Modi's long tenure has strengthened India's position.
New Delhi Declaration has been a constant point of reference because it was progressive and forward-looking and ambitious and had many of the visions of the Prime Minister in terms of the lifestyle for sustainability, in terms of leaving no one behind.
In 2024, Brazil's presidency focused on sustainable development, climate action, and social inclusion. India addressed global challenges like food security and energy transitions and supported Brazil's global alliance against hunger and poverty.
It's a question of continuity. The challenges which the global south facing are only increasing and they're not decreasing. While we have been struggling to find the appropriate policy frameworks to find the right solutions, be it in terms of innovative financing, or be it in terms of supporting the climate mitigation, or be it in terms of providing adequate financing to address this energy transition, or access to technology.
Thank you.
As the next G20 president, South Africa will voice Africa's priorities. The AU must ensure all member states shape the agenda, reflecting the continent's diverse priorities. Africa has potential in renewable energy, agriculture, and digital services. The G20, influenced by India, has prompted economic stability, sustainable development, and inclusive growth. The Economic Brief, DD India.
Ambassador Pinakaranjan Chakraborty, former Secretary of Economic Relations in the Ministry of External Affairs, continues to be with us. Ambassador Chakraborty, how strong do you think the voice of the Global South has become?
Well, it's a progressive, it's gaining progressively more and more in strength. But it is, sometimes I feel that it has not yet reached the tipping point where that everything that they demand will be smoothly implemented. So we are still not there, but we have made remarkable progress in terms of putting it on the agenda, on the global agenda. G20 is the most favorable platform for putting these demands because 85% of the world's GDP is controlled by these top 20 countries. Hence, if they agree, then normally things would happen faster. But agreement is sometimes made at summits, but later implementation sort of lags behind. That has been the practice and has been the experience. So I think, but we have to keep pushing it because there is no other way. We have to keep pushing. We have to tell raise the voice. India has already raised it, the voice on behalf of the Global South. Brazil, South Africa, and others, Indonesia, have also done so. So it's a collective voice of the emerging economies and who are spearheading the demands that are essential to be put on the table on behalf of the
Ambassador Chakraborty, also, the post-COVID world is upon us already, as we can see, but and things have changed. So what role do you think India's vaccine Maitri program played in developing trust among countries of the Global South? We can see Prime Minister in the Caribbean has been, lauded for that program.
Yes, it has had a huge impact on various countries. After all, it was a pandemic, once in 100-year pandemic. The last pandemic was 100 years ago on this scale, or probably less, but this was certainly on a global scale, and it shattered the global economy to a large extent. And but I think at the moment, I think we should concentrate on stopping the conflict in Ukraine and the Middle East, or that is Gaza and Lebanon, etc., because that is creating still a lot of problems in terms of switching away attention from other more pressing issues, disrupting supply chains, impacting, casting a shadow on energy security and food security. So these are some of the urgent issues, and I think they have been reflected in the G20 declaration that a just and durable peace has to be found. And I think, but unfortunately, countries like the USA are unwilling to push that agenda of finding a peaceful solution. They seem to be stuck in the Cold War mindset when, trying to humiliate Russia seems to be their, greatest foreign policy goal of the Biden administration, for example. Fortunately, he's around only for 2 more months, and hopefully our new president, President Trump, will come in and review the whole situation. And let us look forward to that.
Ambassador Chakravarti, India will not be on the Troika now, but it was India's presidency, that brought the African Union in. So what role do you see the African Union playing under the South African presidency at the next G20?
I think the African Union will play a greater role under South Africa. And you will find probably in the next summit, African issues also, in the sense that not just general issues, poverty, hunger, but maybe something unique to Africa that would be highlighted and put on the agenda. And I think all the countries are going to it because Africa is an emerging economy. It is an area where a lot of investments are flowing, and it also has pockets of of hunger and poverty, unemployment, which every country has to some extent. But then it's important that the next summit focuses on African issues.
Sure, but there's also a lot of infighting that's going on in Africa. There is, after all, there are issues with conflicts there as well. So to what extent do you think the continent has to sort out its political issues before it can deal with the large economic potential that it has, probably the strongest economic potential that really required for the global economy?
Well, those of us who understand geopolitics also know that sometimes geopolitics trumps geoeconomics. I mean, sometimes geopolitics, for example, the war in Ukraine, everybody knows, is costing the world a lot, but yet it cannot be stopped because one country has decided that it will keep fueling them. And NATO, for example, the US and the Western countries don't want the wars to stop. Hence, sometimes geopolitical goals trumps economics. And Africa is no exception. There will be conflicts there which have to be managed. But that doesn't mean we stop looking at the economic side and deal with the social, hunger, poverty, and other issues. So we have to be pragmatic. We cannot stop all conflicts. There's no magic wand.
Right.
So the conflicts will have to be managed and, if possible, ended so that peace, prosperity, hunger, and all these other pressing issues can be.
A final. We are, on the fag end of the program, we are joined by Professor Chaturvedi as well. I'm sorry that we were not able to connect with you earlier. But Professor Chaturvedi, we've been talking at length about the Global South. Do you see the problems of the Global South actually increasing unless they stick together? And how effectively can the G20 play a role of providing global economic stability going forward?
No, absolutely right, Mark. We are in Mumbai today with almost 20 central bank governors who are here at RBI to discuss precisely this issue in terms of what is it that we can do and how macroeconomic situation with new incoming administration in the US, the war and the conflicts, how supply chain disruptions are creating more macroeconomic challenges for the global south, and how global south can really do convergence in terms of responses to these challenges. The G20 declaration has reflected on several approaches of New Delhi leaders' declaration. It has reflected on issues which are important, both in terms of identifying the priorities of the global south and also in terms of realizing that we need to bring in coherence and more cogent approaches on macroeconomic convergence for the global south. Inflation, the headwinds which are coming in are posing more and more challenges for the global south. The liquidity challenge, the issues in terms of stalled MDB reforms, multilateral development bank reforms, I think are much bigger and deeper challenges for the global south.
Okay, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for this discussion. Thank you very much, Professor Chaturvedi and Ambassador Chakravarti for joining us, for helping us analyze the G20 Rio Summit.